Good morning and welcome to the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios. Now for the guy who's never wrong. One time he thought he was wrong. Thought he was mistaken. Now here's your host, Dave Carney.
Yes, seldom wrong and right again. Dave Carney with you from the Trauma Center studios in lovely Wisconsin. Chad Forster out there in, well, I would say middle to eastern Washington, broadcasting, of course, thanks to our friends at the Recovery Room. Chad, we've got a really cool show coming up for our audience members this morning, many of whom have desperately missed our guest this morning at 8:30. Mike Schmidt, North State Wolves head coach, former UWL Eagles head coach, is going to be joining us. And yesterday, all I kept hearing when I was talking about this was with people around town was, this is going to be a real Schmidt show today, isn't it? And I was like, yeah, this is going to be a real Schmidt show. So we're going to have a good one. It's going to be a lot of fun. I've got an interesting / fun poll question for you guys and gals up there at Twitter at the Sports Carney on our Facebook group page, which now, Chad, is over 300 members strong. We're very excited about that. This morning's poll question, and Mike, I'd love it if you would check in on this with us as well. Which of these three pro-Wisconsin MVPs is your favorite right now, in the moment, total recency bias? Baseball season hasn't started, but Christian Yelich is a former league MVP. Basketball season is in full throes. Tonight, Giannis and the Bucks play the Hawks on ESPN, big national spot. And, of course, Aaron Charles Rodgers, the 39-year-old quarterback who everybody thinks will play till he's, 850, is also was a two-time reigning MVP and a four-time overall MVP. Which of these three Wisconsin Pro MVPs is your favorite right now? That is this morning's poll question, so please take part in that. Chad, how the fuck you doing today?
Good. I'm going to say J.J. Watt.
I like that. That probably gets added on to the Facebook group.
Right, because J.J. Watt is from Wisconsin. He didn't win his defensive MVPs in Wisconsin, but he is from Wisconsin. So I'm going to say J.J. Watt.
Nice. I was trying to
be the contrarian.
I was trying to go with players that actually played for Wisconsin professional teams.
I know what you're trying to do. I'm trying to do something different.
I like this. And that's why the Facebook group page is so perfect, because you can keep adding poll questions or poll responses, I should say, which, by the way, I'm just going to go back to Matt from the Recovery Room yesterday said, what would you rather be, the straw that stirs the drink or the engine that actually runs the show, right? So looking at this, we had a two-way tie. 40% said the straw that stirs the drink, 40% the engine behind the machine. And Alan Cat Daddy added a particular response here that got 20% of the votes, the puppet master. So there you go. There you go.
Yes, actually, that's probably the best one to be. No, to answer your question,
yes,
honestly and correctly, I would have to say Giannis.
I have voted Giannis as well. And currently, we're already getting some nice votes in here on the Facebook group page. 71-28-1. 71 Giannis, 28 Rodgers, 1% Christian Yelich. Now, I don't know how much baseball you've watched over the last couple of years. I'm going to assume about this much, okay? About this much baseball over the last couple of years. Maybe Brewer baseball over the last couple of years. I'm just guessing was not a lot. Christian Yelich is a guy that a couple of years back when he started to really fall off and, went from MVP level back to, not even back to anything, but down into the depths, kind of where Russell Wilson is at. I started to opine openly, Chad, and a couple of other statewide guys started to pick up this thread from me. Was Christian Yelich possibly juicing? We think of steroids as this thing that only Barry Bonds could do. No, that's not what that is. Christian Yelich in Miami with the Marlins was hitting 15, 17, 20 dingers, comes to the Brewers, 40 fucking home runs, and then a 38 piece, and now apparently can't hit the baseball. I'm not trying to say that that's for sure what happened, because he did sustain a knee injury and a back injury, but I think Christian Yelich possibly, maybe, could have been a candidate for juicing. Seems like a nice kid, to be sure, but it's really odd to see a trajectory of a career go, okay, MVP, now you can't hit the baseball. That seems a little bit odd. So that's just me.
Yeah, and it could be other performance-enhancing drugs. It doesn't necessarily have to be steroids, correct?
That's true.
Right? I don't know if doping really is, the blood doping, I don't know if that really benefits baseball players. That's more for endurance type stuff. But there's other things that can be done. And actually, the way they do it now, even the stuff that's legal,
I know,
is closer to we would have called steroids in the 90s. You know what I mean? The stuff over the counter can get you pretty yoked as it is. You don't even have to take the anabolic, horse tranquilizers and whatnot.
Yeah, you don't need Special K just to come down from your horse tranquilizers. That's what P12 Foreman was checking in here. Well, not about Special K today. I mean, that was in the past, ketamine for horses. No, it's true. And I can't remember which major leaguer I heard talking about that recently with respect to the Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Rafael Palmeiro situations in the Hall of Fame, right? Will they ever be in? They can't be in on the regular writers vote now. Now it goes to, I think, the pro era, like the modern era vote or something.
Pharmacists is what it should go to. They should have.
It should go to pharmacists.
Take a poll of pharmacists to see who should get in the Hall of Fame. Right? I mean, when you think about it, I mean, it's what you almost have to go to. It's like somebody that's qualified to understand what's in these people.
Yeah, that's okay. That's very true. The player said the stuff that you've got right now, like you mentioned, he's like the protein shakes and the pills you get now. He said this is stuff that we were getting popped for back in the day. So
Foreman, I didn't read this before I put it up. What are you saying here when you say juicing? Do you mean awesome. Killing your ex-wife? Oh, I didn't read that whole thing before I put it. Yeah, too soon.
That was great. That was. Hey, by the way, speaking of OJ killing his ex-wife, Kato Kalin. Famous guy from Wisconsin as well.
Is he really? I did not know that.
Yes, he is. And this is a place where he knew that OJ would never be going after he got out of prison, right? Like he's just going to kind of stay there in Vegas.
Yeah.
We're going to stay. We're going to stay right here in the Trauma Center studios. When we come back, Chad, I want to get into a little bit of Badger basketball discussion because last night the Badgers played a really tough game against the Michigan State Spartans. Tom Izzo and company came to the Kohl Center and got a really narrow 69-65 victory. Coming up tonight, the Bucks are in Atlanta versus the Hawks. Bucks are 2-point favorites. Hawks are a dangerous team. Game will be nationally televised on ESPN. And don't forget, Mike Schmidt joins the show coming up at 8:30. Stay tuned.
What can I say? The Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi Street is not only my favorite bar in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin, it's my favorite restaurant in all of downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin. Breakfast served 8 to noon, Saturday and Sundays, daily specials, incredible cocktails, and the best damn wait staff in the entire city. My buddy Matt knows how to treat you right, and that's why when you go to the Recovery Room on 7th and Mississippi, you're always going to have a great time and a great meal with a great cocktail. So if you haven't been in a while, or perhaps you're just regular and you want to stop in again, make it a thing. I'm there every single week. How about you?
Do you have a wedding, anniversary party, or bat mitzvah coming up in your life? Then you need Hey Duda DJ Services, featuring Neil Duda, the Midwest Eminem.
No doubt about it, I'm hammered, and that's every day. Brains are cloudy, dog.
Dropping sick beats while you enjoy your treats. No party is too big or too small. Quinceañeras, graduations, ice cream socials, or cocktail parties. Whatever the celebration, Hey Duda is rocking the foundation.
Here we go again, back with all our friends. Here comes the pain.
Neil Duda.
Broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios, this is the Sports Carnival. Remember, tact is for people who aren't witty enough to use sarcasm. Here's your host, Dave Carney.
Good morning, everybody. I hope you're off to a great start. It's going to be a really fun day today here on the Sports Carnival. I'm in really high spirits because Mike Schmidt, Chad, who used to be my former thrice weekly contributor, is finally going to be joining us here on the Sports Carnival. Very excited about that. I think I've touched nerve here when I mentioned Christian Yelich's name, the Milwaukee Brewers, with Rob Dog from Stoddard. Rob Dog is a huge baseball fan, and a couple of days back, Chad, Rob Dog, and I think we saw this in the feed, didn't put it up on the screen, was talking about how many days until pitchers and catchers report. I'll start talking about baseball in like July. So after the All-Star break, maybe like July or August, we'll start talking about it. Once they put in the 100-plus games, I can look at the last 60. But Rob Dog says this, as far as the MVP poll we have up right now, I'd take Ryan Braun over everyone else on this list. Once you take steroids out of the pictures, I think the Brewers offseason, now he completely changes gears, but he says, I think the Brewers this offseason didn't do a whole lot to compete for a 2023 World Series title. The Brewers are going to be possibly the worst team in the division this year. They sent Josh Haderoy last year. I don't really know what the Brewers are going to be. But here's the thing about Braun that I wanted to mention, because as opposed to what Barry Bonds did or didn't do, as opposed to what Roger Clemens did do or didn't do, Mark McGwire, all of these guys, which, by the way, many of them have never actually admitted to taking steroids, right? Like Barry Bonds has never been caught taking steroids. He never tested positive for steroids. The problem that I've got with Ryan Braun, like the really big problem with Braun, is that he tried to throw a fucking FedEx driver under the bus and say it was somebody else's fault, that something got mismanaged with a test when that was not true. He basically tried to ruin the life of a guy that was making $20 an hour because he was making $20 million a year. Now, when I hear you people, and this is something that doesn't go just to Rob, but when I hear you people talking about athletes and making all this money, what about the athlete that tries to take away the livelihood of a regular, like lower middle class person? That shit's fucked up. And I'm sorry, Ryan Braun, for me, out of this question. I mean, like forever out of this question. It basically gets nullified for me right
Ryan
there.
Braun's a douchebag.
Yeah.
I agree. So I would keep him off that list as well. If we just stick with the list that you have up there, though, I think Giannis is the clear choice, in my opinion.
So far on Twitter, Chad, we're starting to see, so 50% of respondents have Giannis, 30% Yelich, 20% Rodgers. Rodgers is, he's getting the wood right now. And then here on the Facebook group page, I'll update it again. 71-28-1 was our first look there. I think that Giannis, and we'll see him in action tonight against the Hawks and on a national TV spot, which is always so fun. I think Giannis is the kind of player, Chad, that if you're a fan of sports and you're a fan of your own like local sports teams, you just love this guy because he's all about the team. Even though he's making the huge money, he doesn't act like he's making the huge money. He's elevated every single player that he has played with. Literally, Pat Connaughton would be out of the league if it weren't for playing with Giannis Antetokounmpo. Chris Middleton was a second-round draft pick and a throwaway from a trade that the Bucks actually sent Brandon Jennings away for, who came up with that famous Bucks and 6 quote. So I think that Giannis is like the quintessential player that you want to have on your sports team. Rodgers is the more crucial talent that bristles at everything and makes you feel sort of uncomfortable. And then Christian Yelich is a TBD. This guy was really good for 2 years and subsequently has been one of the worst baseball players in the major leagues. He cannot hit anymore. He just cannot hit the baseball. So I think that Giannis should be the clear choice, but I wanted to see where Packer fans were at too. Baseball fans coming up the rear.
Yeah.
See what they thought.
Joey Miller asking if Giannis is going to have a big game. I think he will. He kind of had a somewhat of a pedestrian game the last outing. I mean, still decent numbers, but not his normal
22,
numbers.
10 and 5, and you were like,
yeah. I mean, it's a good game for most people, but for him, it's an average game or below average game, I should say. And then asking if Clint Capella is out. I'm not sure about that.
So Clint Capella being out, we'll check on. I haven't looked at that particular part of the roster matchups for tonight. Giannis, though, will have a big game. So, Joey, if you're thinking about putting together one of those prop bets and perhaps you're using BetUS, sign up, use that promo code Carnival. You're looking to put together prop bets. If you were going to look at what his totals would be, points, rebounds, assists, if you're anywhere in the 45.5 range, I would go ahead and say over. Because I do think that Giannis will have a big night scoring. The Hawks are a good, fun team to watch, but they're not known to be a lockdown defensive squad, right? So I think that Giannis is going to be able to have his way. And whether Clint Capella is there or not, that won't largely affect Giannis. Capella's a good defender, but he's not going to stop him.
Yeah. Speaking of NBA basketball, last night, Steph Curry came back.
He did.
Points, but they lost. And did you see the Miami Heat went 40 for 40 from the free throw line as a team?
I did not catch that.
They made all 40 of their free throws.
Wow.
Which is some kind of record. Yeah, that's a record. 40 for 40, wow. The whole team, and they won by 1 point. So that's kind of a cool thing to happen in the NBA.
Yeah.
Not very often do you see something like that. That's pretty cool. Generally, you're yelling at the TV because your team won't make free throws, and you're like, it's called free.
And aren't you guys like supposed to be professionals? Right. And I won't even really give a whole lot of like leeway to Division I college players either, right? Like when you get to a certain level in ascension of sport, you should be able to do the very, very simple things. Hitting free throws was probably one of the best things I ever did.
I don't think, honestly, to me, if you're professional and you're not shooting over 70%, there's a problem.
Agreed.
I mean, and I think 70% it should be a given. Everybody should be able to shoot 70%. If you're a professional athlete in the NBA, how can you not hit 70%? You're standing there by yourself. And now, granted, I know sometimes it gets in people's heads, and some of the bigger guys have a problem with, technique and things like that. We obviously Wilt had issues. Shaq had issues. Even Kareem wasn't all that. I mean, he was decent. I think he was a 74%, 74%. But I mean, taller guys for whatever reason have an issue. But for me, it's like you're getting paid millions of dollars. You can't hit a wide open, nobody around you, free throw. Come on.
Well, if Shaq would have done what Rick Barry tried to inspire him to do, which was shoot it like the granny shot. And I know it's so embarrassing. Rick Barry was a 90% free throw shooter in his career, right?
One of the greatest ever. Yeah.
What are we talking about? Now, I wanted to make a quick comparison here because I think this is interesting. You talk about NBA players not being able to hit 70% of their free throws, and they're free, right? No defenders are coming at you, right? You don't have guys rushing to block your shot. Imagine you had a field goal kicker that couldn't kick 70% of his field goal kickers. Do you know what they call that field goal kicker?
Unemployed?
Exactly. Unfucking employed, because it just doesn't work that way. And then you really do have players trying to block your kick. You've got guys that will awesomely cream you if they can and don't get called for a penalty. So yes, I tend to agree 70% should be the low water mark. Anything below 70%, you're below average in every single way and probably should give back some of your money.
I would agree with that. Joe's checking in, saying MSU last night was like 95% from the line. I'll bring up this graphic game last night. Not a good game for the Badgers, huh?
Well,
the Badgers watched some of it, but I kind of fell asleep, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it was okay. So a couple of things for Wisconsin.
Watching college basketball and falling asleep is very common.
Well, it can be when the scores are 69-65. And I listen, last night for Wisconsin, a couple of things came into play. And you'll see up here, if you're watching us on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitch, on Twitter, Tyler Wall was out. And Tyler Wall's been the leading scorer for the Badgers this year, a really plucky, good player. So he was out with an injury. Jordan Davis, who we've talked about here on the program, Lacrosse Central grad, whose brother Johnny is right now trying to get something going with the Washington G League team. He was scoreless last evening. Stephen Crowell did lead the team with 19 points. And this kid, Isagen, off the bench, for Wisconsin, had 13. He's a nice looking little player, a really good jump shot. But no, the Badgers didn't have a lot in offense last night. Michigan State also didn't play a very clean game. You'll see the name Joey Hauser up here, Chad, led the Michigan State Spartans with 20 points and 8 rebounds. Now, that's also a Wisconsin tie because Joey Hauser was a graduate of Stevens Point High School. Stevens Point's about 2 hours from here from La Crosse. Actually started his career at Marquette with his brother, Sam Hauser, who now, as you might know, plays for your Boston Celtics. So This is his little brother, Joey, who did have a very good game last night, 20 points, 8 rebounds. I was talking to a friend who's actually from Stevens Point, and I asked, were the Hausers always going to be studs? And they said, absolutely. Always were studs, even when they were little kids. So the transfer over to Michigan State from Marquette, I know he had to lose, I think, a year when he came over. It was before the open transfer portal, but it seems to have done a lot of good there for Joey Hauser, who I said had 20 points and 8 boards. And he was really, kind of one of the only things I was happy to see about last night's game. The Badgers did, though, play a really tough one. I mean, they were up, I think, a point at the half, 31-32. Second half, Tom Izzo and company were able to get the victory. Listen, the Badgers were ranked 18th in the country coming into last night's game. But Big Ten play has now officially started. And the Big Ten, just like in football, Chad, is a grind, right? Like Big Ten basketball. And I think you and I have been probably at least tangent fans of Big Ten basketball our whole lives, especially growing up. You had great teams, the Michigan Wolverines, the Fab Five. You had, the Ohio State Buckeyes have had a lot of good teams through the years, and so have the Badgers. This one last night wasn't all that bad of a game. It was a close game enough. But I just don't know, as the season progresses on in Big Ten play, if Wall's not playing, if he's not out there 100%, if the Badgers have quite enough to be able to overcome some really good teams. And listen, Michigan State wasn't ranked coming into last night's game, but now this is the second consecutive loss for the Badgers against a Big Ten team. They lost to Illinois on Saturday. Now, that game was on the road in Illinois, but back at the Kohl Center, I think the Badgers have now lost 4 of their last 5 to Michigan State overall. So we'll see where the season goes. I've been impressed with how they've played so far, but last night, again, just not enough to get it done.
This probably drops them out of the top 25, don't you think?
Maybe. I would say that because, they were 18 last night. I could see this possibly dropping them out of the top 25. They're 3-2 now in conference play. Michigan State goes to 4-1 in the conference. I could see that being a potential. Yes.
Looks like we've got some people talking about Wisconsin Badger football and what Fickle's doing. Fickle is just fickling it up, huh? Everybody's jacked up with who he's bringing in.
So yesterday it was announced, and I don't have his name in front of me. I apologize. But yesterday it was announced that the Badgers have now landed their 3rd former four-star recruit as a quarterback to the program. Kyle Morningwood actually sent me this message yesterday. Badger football is killing it. And he says, what Nacho said, they're killing it, bringing guys in left and right. Most talented quarterback room in its history. Okay, well, that's not saying a ton for Wisconsin Badger football, right? It's not saying a ton.
Uh,
It is good to hear.
it's still the best, though.
It is still the best.
Yeah. If we look at the past and the present, right now it is the best.
Yeah, I would
That's
say
saying
that
a lot. But
the Russell Wilson year had to have been the best quarterback room ever because Russell Wilson's the best quarterback to ever play at Wisconsin. I mean, just by all measures. Yeah, I think with 3 former 4-star guys, this is probably the best. Let me ask you, Kyle Morningwood, because I don't know if you know, and maybe Foreman or maybe Joe V knows this. Where the fuck is that Graham Mertz kid going? Because he entered the transfer portal. Is anybody picking up what he's putting down? Because I haven't really heard
in the portal.
He might be lost in the portal.
Is he in the part of the Bed Bath and Beyond, the Beyond part? Like nobody knows what happened?
No,
Then
he actually.
Yeah,
got
I feel
lost
bad for this guy. You go into the portal, you can't come out. He's like it's like a quantum leap, you know?
Oh, good Scott Bakula reference there.
He's stuck in the loop.
Did they remake that show at some point, Quantum Leap? Did they try to do it?
They have different characters, different guys. I want to say it's an Asian fella that's playing Scott Bakula's part, I want to say.
Okay.
And I believe that's on now. It's now we're in remake. They're remaking everything. Magnum PI, they're remaking that. They remade Hawaii Five-0. It's like, after a certain point in time, Hollywood goes, all right, let's just dig in the trunk, see what we used to be good, and we'll just remake it with new people. Cheaper.
Well, this is entertainment in general, right? I mean, it really is. It goes secular. It just kind of rolls around. What used to be popular is popular once again. And he's in Florida. What, on vacation, Joe?
He says he's going to they say they're going to the Gators. Rob Duck says he's going to the Gators. So if you do get into a transfer portal and get stuck in Florida, that is similar to being stuck in the quantum leap.
That is true. That is true. That was a good show at the time, though, man. I really did enjoy that show.
I love that show.
Yeah. I like that P12 Foreman's Funhouse checked in a bit earlier, and he said the best part of the Hauser brothers was they denied Wisconsin twice. See, that hurts. If you're a Wisconsin Badger fan, you wanted to see the Hausers when they were leaving Marquette. Oh, Chad, the hubbub was that they were leaving Marquette to go to the Wisconsin Badgers. And I did say at the time, and I was feeling a little sarcastic. And I said, well, why would they want to go there to have a worse career? Because really with Wisconsin, and this is what we see last night, why you fell asleep. You pass the ball for about 24 seconds, right about the 30-second mark, the oldest remaining white guy shoots.
Yeah, it's like
been on the team the longest.
It's like quantum leaping to the 1950s.
Yes, it is.
If you watch 1950s basketball on YouTube, check it out, whether it's NBA or college, and then you watch Wisconsin play. You're like, oh, this is great basketball. Then he passes to another guy, and then he passes to another guy. 3 dribbles, another pass. It's like I watched Hoosiers the other day, and which is a great movie, one of my favorite movies of all time. Gene Hackman, great. Very similar to watching Wisconsin basketball. You got to pass the ball at least 4 times.
Yes, you do. And I mean, listen, don't let that ball hit the ground. I want you to stand at the corners, hit that thing around the
Princeton offense. Yeah.
This is called the Badgers run the Bo Ryan swing offense, except for, and I just wanted to point this out to people because I started to hear it's the system of Wisconsin basketball. I said, no, it's the lack of overall talent, because when you get superstar talent like Johnny Davis last year, guess what Greg Gard did? Here you go. Go make plays, and Johnny Davis was out there making plays, got himself a top 10 draft pick. This year, he knows that it's back to the well of, listen, it's not that the Badgers don't have talent and they won't win games. They were a top 25 team and a surprising top 25 team for the last couple of weeks, and they'll probably be able to upset a team in the March tournament, right? They'll probably be able to get one of those teams upset, but it's not an exciting, in many cases, brand of basketball. I will say that. Well, it is equivalent to me to watching the Chicago Sky play the Los Angeles Sparks. That's about where it's at for me in many cases.
That sounds like a WNBA reference, but I'm not exactly sure.
Good for you.
Did I get that correct?
You did.
So when you have lack of athleticism, you have a tendency as a coach to hide it in a system.
Yes.
That's one of those things that you do. When you have great athletes, you don't have to hide it in a system. You just, drop a basic play and give the ball to the best guy and get the hell out of the way.
Yeah, that's right. See, it would be interesting to see, like, say the Badgers had gotten like LeBron James, for example, when he comes out of high school. Right. How long do you think that swing offense is going to be in there?
It would be in very long.
0 times. I mean, literally 0 times. And as we saw, Johnny last year averaged 20 and 8 rebounds. That was exactly what happened. I mean,
well, I'm glad you mentioned LeBron, because that's one thing that I think would have made his career even greater is it even if he would have went to college for 1 year.
Sure.
To watch him in college, I mean, it's kind of like when Allen Iverson went for that 1 year to Georgetown.
Yes.
I mean, he just dominated, and it was so amazing to watch.
I think Iverson played 2.
I thought he only played 1. Maybe he did play 2. Let's say he played 1 just for my sake of my argument. Okay. What I'm saying is would have been cool. That I think we missed that. Kobe would have been cool to watch in college.
Sure would have.
That's the only bad thing about guys jumping right into the NBA. I understand it financially. I understand all of that. I get it, and I'm glad they're able to have that option. But as a fan of college basketball, wouldn't you think it would have been amazing? Imagine if we didn't get to see, Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar at UCLA.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Or Larry at ISU, or Magic at Michigan State, or Patrick Ewing at Georgetown. All of these great. When we grew up, college basketball, there were grown men in college basketball because these guys stayed till at least their junior year, if not senior year. And these were grown men playing hoops. It was a whole different kind of game than it is nowadays.
Well, it was so markedly different. The finances in the NBA weren't there to really inspire guys to jump right in. Right, there was only one situation in which that happened. A Supreme Court case got decided around it. That was Spencer Haywood. Right, back in the day, he actually sued the NBA to let him in to the NBA. Sean Kemp kind of made it through a JUCO, not a regular.
Moses Malone, I believe, was right out of high school.
He was, but that was because the Spencer Haywood lawsuit that actually went through. I guess so. In a couple of ways, the finances weren't quite there yet to make that big push to leave college to go play in the pros because you didn't know what the money was. It wasn't set like it is now. There is something about college basketball that is quite lacking without these stars. Think about this: the most recent star and most recent time in which the March tournament has been a true March tournament, and I actually think we got it shut down because of COVID, but that we would have wanted was Zion with Duke.
Yeah,
that absolutely. Was the COVID year that got that shut down.
Yeah.
But Zion at Duke was the last college basketball season that I can remember in recent memory, and I'm talking 10, 15 years or so, in which you had a seminal superstar, an absolute superstar that was going to play college basketball, and Duke paid him the right amount of money to come to Duke and play there. They bought his parents the right kind of house to go play there. Mike Krzyzewski's no fucking saint. Okay?
No.
He knew what he was doing.
Sure.
So the Duke Blue Devils paid the right money to get Zion. And I think that college basketball, though, specifically college basketball, the reason it's not nearly as popular as it was when we were kids, because I grew up in an era in the 80s and 90s like you. I mean, you're talking about North Carolina had Vince Carter on it. I mean, the Michigan Wolverines had the Fab Five, for Christ's sakes. I mean, that was a pro team. The UNLV Rebels with Larry and Stacy and Anderson Hunt and Greg Anthony. I mean, these were great basketball teams. We don't know who plays for most of these teams now, right? Like if you didn't know and your favorite team wasn't the Badgers and you didn't have a connection to, let's say, the city of La Crosse where Jordan Davis plays and played. If you weren't, a Stevens Point guy and didn't really care about Joey Hauser or Sam Hauser and where they played, you might not know who was playing on these teams. There just aren't really a lot of stars in college basketball because they just don't play that long. That's just the way it is. Even James Wiseman, what did he play? 2 games for Memphis before he got declared ineligible because of whatever it is that Penny Hardaway tried to do, buy him a hamburger in high school or something. And that's the thing. College.
I know some of that stuff is ridiculous. Some of that stuff that they, you know what I mean? Like that they get checked on. It's like you made a phone call at the wrong time to the wrong guy. It's like, come on. I mean, we know there's so much more going on. And sometimes I think they do that just to stir the pot a little bit, make it look like they're doing something.
Possibly. All right, we'll leave this segment with Joe V's comment about the NBA. He says he feels about the NBA regular season as we all do about the MLB regular season. Occasional good games, but a lot of snore jobs. Listen, I like Major League Baseball too, dude. I've got to nap it up sometimes in the afternoon, pop on a game in the middle of the day. I'm done. In 15 minutes, I'm out. I get to wake up 5.5 hours later. The game's in the 6th inning. It's great. All right, boys and girls, we're at that particular time in the show when we get to go all Schmitty on you. Mike Schmidt, Northern State Wolves head coach, joining the Sports Carnival for the very first time in about 60 seconds. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.
The official mortgage team of the Sports Carnival is the Midwest Mortgage Team of Land Home Financial, my good buddies Mike Garcia and Todd Vercruzzi. Listen, We all know the mortgage industry is in a bit of an upheaval right now, and that's why it's more important than ever to go to a couple of guys that you can trust, a local operation right here in La Crosse. That is the Midwest Mortgage Team. Again, Michael Garcia and Todd Vercruzzi of Land Home Financial. Don't make a mistake with your mortgage needs. Go to the official mortgage provider of the Sports Carnival, the Midwest Mortgage Team, Mike Garcia and Todd Vercruzzi.
Preferred Insurance is the official auto, home, business, flood, and life insurance agency of the Sports Carnival, serving folks in La Crosse and surrounding areas with licenses in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa. As an independent insurance agency, Preferred Insurance is free to find the very best insurance for you, your family, or your business needs. Call my friends at Preferred Insurance today and set up a free consultation. Remember, working with an independent agency means Preferred Insurance works for you, with you, to find the best solutions at the best prices.
Back to the Sports Carnival, broadcasting live from the Trauma Center studios. If you want a happy life, it's easy. Just expect nothing and you'll never be disappointed. Now here's your host, Dave Kearney.
I can see why I'm always so disappointed. God damn it. I've got high expectations. I was expecting this guy to be part of the program like 3 times a week because he had been my thrice weekly contributor in La Crosse. Had a busy season, but now I see him joining us from the newly renovated $50 million Dakota Bank Stadium in Aberdeen, South Dakota. None other than Mike Schmidt. Schmitty, what's up, dude? How are you?
What's going on, David? I'm glad to see you. Look at my new digs back here. I gotta kind of show them off to everybody too. We got about 3 feet of snow on the field, but pretty nice place, huh?
You are in high cotton. Look at that Dakota Bank Stadium, Chad. This is one of the nicest stadiums in all of Division II college football. Went through, what was that, a $50 million stadium that you guys had put up there?
I mean, $66 million project, but who's counting? You know, we're not counting it all the time, but it was $66 million. Yeah.
I like it. 66. It could have been 69 million. That would have made us all more happy.
Stop the count. Stop the count. Whenever it gets there, stop the count.
So, Schmitty, there's no way for us to go back over the whole last entire year with you because that would just take way too long. I'm going to assume that the season for you wasn't exactly what you had anticipated, but give me your overall takeaway on your Wolves team this year. What did you guys do best, and what do you think you're going to have to improve on most going into next year to secure that conference championship, which I know is your goal as the head coach there at NSU?
Yeah, always the goal is to win a championship. That's always what you're trying to do, and certainly that's something we fell short of this year. Again, it's kind of my teams have played a lot of tight games over my years as the head coach, whether it be at UWL or here now. We've played a lot of tight, close games, and this year we weren't able to pull some of them off. We were able to pull some of them off. We had a couple huge victories. I think you just look at the inconsistency of our football team. You know, we beat Mankato for the first time in 51 years, and then we beat Winona for the second time in a row, and we're able to secure that one, a team we had lost to 15 straight times before we got here. And, those were big wins for us, 2 playoff teams. And at the same time, we lose some games we probably shouldn't have. So I think you look at just the inconsistency. But, we had a great player in Ian Marshall this year who was if you guys have a chance to go on some of my social media and some of our stuff, go look at what Ian Marshall was able to do. He's a first-team All-American in pretty much everything, was the best D lineman in the country, in my opinion, and a guy that just really had a lot of success. He's back for another year again, so it'll be a lot of fun to watch us. We're pretty good on defense. We got to get some pieces back on offense. We had some key injuries before the season, and so that held us back from being really explosive. And I think you look at just some of the things that like the Packers are going through. I think we kind of went through a little bit of that. We were an offensive team in 2021, a really defensive team in 2022, and weren't able to pull off some of the victories that we needed to. But we're certainly headed in the right direction. We've had a great offseason. We haven't brought in a ton of transfers here at semester. We will, but it's just a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun playing in this stadium, and we had a great team with some really great players, and those guys are back for next year.
Well, I am going to, and Jimmy the Haggerty, Jimmy Namath, as he is now known for his incredible coat game. We were supposed to go to a game this year. We just couldn't make it happen. The logistics of it didn't work out, but that's something that we're for sure going to want to do. Confirm or deny, Joe DeGuano came to NSU the other day.
Confirm or deny that Joe DeGuano was here the other day?
He said he was coming up there.
I will deny that that he was not here. He wasn't here in person. We sure would like to get him and maybe his family, or maybe particular members of his family. We sure would love to have them here and join us to come check it out, come see it. We'd love to bring Joe up here.
He's got a looking boy, tall too. From what I've heard, got good hands.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the case. You know, with the athleticism that Joe has, I'm sure that it can't. It has to run down the street.
Yeah, Joe's doing the horizontal bop as well as he's ever done it before. That's what he tells me his newest kind of exercise is. The Eagles had a great season this year, Mike, as well. We talked to Matt Janis, your former defensive coordinator, now the head coach of the Eagles program, every single Tuesday on the program, same as we did for years. What a great season for this Eagles team. Again, falling short, but as a former coach, as a former player at the University of Wisconsin lacrosse, you know, how does that make you feel?
Oh, so proud. I'm so proud of those guys. I love all of those guys. You know, those are some of my last recruiting classes there that are seniors that were there. And then obviously all the new pieces that Coach Janis and the staff brought in. But man, I'm as big a fan of UW lacrosse football as anybody in the world. You know, that's my team. That's my alma mater. That I couldn't be more proud of what they did. I couldn't be more proud of the kind of people they have in the program. I think that's always such a big thing that you talk about is winning the right way and winning with guys that are doing it in certain ways. And I think one thing that gets lost in athletics is we all want to win. I mean, everybody wants to win, but you know, saying, you know, you have a plan to win and you want to win, or you're all on the same page to win is really simple, but having alignment throughout the organization is really difficult. And I think, you know, what Coach Janis has done there with really not adding a lot of different things, different pieces, different just more resources or things like that, and him taking that to that level is pretty cool and says a lot about him. Finally was the WIC Coach of the Year, and he's certainly been one of the best coaches in that league since I've known him in 2015. And it's just been a lot of fun to watch what they've done. They do it the right way. And I think that's just through a lot of hard work, a lot of identity, knowing who they are, knowing who the school is, knowing who the place is. And it was really fun to watch that season that those guys had. And I know they wanted more, and I'm excited to see them get more in the future.
Yeah, I'm really stoked about where the future of this Eagles program is headed. I really am. I'm going to give us a hard left turn. Maybe it's not that hard, but I want to talk about the future of another team that I think at least you and I are affectionate about. Chad, maybe not as much, the Green Bay Packers. Where the hell do the Green Bay Packers go from here, Mike? Because this season was just atrocious. And the way that it ended was probably the most fitting way that it could have ended, because the disappointment, the expectations, the lack of overall consistency, they just kept showing up on a week in, week out basis, save for a couple of games against teams who probably wouldn't have been able to beat anybody during that stretch as it was. Where do they go from here? Does Rodgers come back? The cap situation that they're in looks really murky. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think the cap situation is tough, but Rodgers has to come back. I mean, they got $60 million for him sitting there. I can't believe that Aaron Rodgers is going to walk away from $60 million that's sitting on the table for him. If he was going to walk away, why would he have negotiated that sort of a deal and that kind of guaranteed money and that kind of the buildup that it's going to have over these 4 years? I can't see him not being there at this point with that kind of contract and that kind of money. I just have a hard time believing that Aaron Rodgers walks away from $60 million that he's owed. So he's going to be back. He's going to be there with them. And we all know I was famously said that he was going to be gone for a long time and thought he sure was going to be gone. And that was what it looked like. Now that's all in place. He's got to be back. You know, what you're interested is why doesn't he come out and just say, like, I understand he's not going to be back or whatever, or him and Randall Cobb, and maybe Cobb's not back, and that's surely what it looks like is going to be the case, that Randall Cobb's not going to be back. But if you're Aaron Rodgers and you have this plethora of weapons at wide receiver that are first-year players, are you not like just the most jazzed you've probably ever been in your career, or do you just not want to, not want to push it to that point? I guess I would be so excited if I had Christian Watson and Dobbs and the young guys that they have in that crew, to see if they can get Lazard back. The interview the other day wasn't very good with Lazard looking like he's gone, but that is a good crew that you can build around and have back if you want to play these 3 years that are on that contract. I don't know why he wouldn't want to be back and do that, but I think you just got to look at just continuing to develop the identity. And I think that was really hard for this group. I heard Joe DeGuano say yesterday or the day before about discipline. I mean, at what point do you really have to tell a guy, a grown-up, an adult, I know he's 22 or 23 in Quay Walker, but do you really have to say, all right, guys, in the pregame, we're in the locker room here. Okay, let's go up, play really hard. I want to make sure no pushing officials. Like, no, don't do that. Okay, like, we want to make sure that
trainers,
everybody in the athletic training staff that's going to run out there. Like, that should be a given in society, let alone, having to tell a professional football player that. I don't know that that's what do you, as a coach, I've been in some of those situations where something like that happens. You're like, well, how was I supposed to address that prior to it? I don't know how that, I did like whatever, but I don't know how that inherently speaks to a discipline issue. But they've got to figure out what they want to do on defense, in my opinion. If that's where they want to get to, Aaron Rodgers is going to be back. But I don't know how do you play like you did against the Vikings a week before on defense, and then you play the way that you did the other day in the second half. And I think that speaks to, you heard Matt LaFleur come out of halftime and say we're in a street fight, and whoever wants it more is going to win. I don't know that I think you want to say we want to make the adjustments. We're the better team. We're going to play really hard and get ready to go. And I don't think you want to get into a street fight when Dan Campbell's across the way, who I think probably street fights as a hobby of his. LaFleur lift him up and bite his ear off in a street fight. So I don't know that that's the strategy that you want to take. I think you got to be better on defense, know what you want to run, and on 4th and 1, tighten up your coverage, have a better plan. I think the Lions got them in some of the I think the Lions just got them in some of the stuff that they weren't prepared for. And so I think you got to clean that stuff up. But Rodgers has to be back with $60 million on the table. I would be shocked. Now, I've been wrong on this before, but I would say he's going to be back just for the simple fact that there's $60 million sitting there for him.
Morning Wood says that you should take over for Joe Barry as D coordinator. What do you think about that, Coach?
My phone's here. If they want to make the phone call, I will gladly answer it.
I think that there are so many jobs that you should be given a chance for, but again, time and place and all that stuff. Listen, the Packers defense has been one of the big ballyhoos. The special teams, I thought Rich Bisaccia was going to clean that thing up. That didn't look quite as good as I anticipated it looking. And not to pick on Matt LaFleur because, and I know that in a fraternity, which you guys are in as coaches, it's really hard to talk too disparagingly about another guy. And I think that Matt LaFleur's got a lot of great qualities. But I was talking to a friend the other day, and I really have the opinion that Matt LaFleur may be, and this could be changed in my opinion, but maybe a great coordinator, might not be an awesome head coach. Mike, you know probably more than anybody that's watching this show today what it means to be a head coach. It's more of an administrative role than it is a day-to-day coaching role, especially in the NFL. Maybe a bit different for you at NSU, but not entirely different. Do you think that there's ever a time in which, a coach looks at themselves in the mirror and says, on their own volition, I might not be this guy? Or is that something that in your mind you always feel like you're the guy until somebody tells you, not the guy?
No, Dave, I think you're always if you're a good coach, I think you're constantly questioning what you're doing. And I think you heard that from Matt LaFleur the other day after the game, saying we're going to look at everything. And he needs to look at everything. I feel like, I think when you look at that game and what happened in that the microcosm of that one game, I just think you got to look at some of the strategy over emotional and over situational things. What's the full strategy of what you're trying to do, going for it on 4th and 1 from your own 33 with a play that is probably not to the best guy and the best thing, not the best look. That's not great. But then to, on the other side of it, then not be aggressive and kick and attempt a 53-yard field goal. I think those conversations are things that are happening all the time. Like, you should have a strategy and know, like, what is the yard line we're trying to get to. That communication goes through the play call, saying it's 3rd and 7. If we get 4 here, we're going to kick a field goal. If we don't, we're going to go for it. If we try to pick it up, like, do you have something that you like right now? If you don't like it, then let's try to run the ball, get into some better field goal position, and try to kick the field goal. Those are just some things that I think strategy wise. And I just think the comment about the street fight was really tough on me when he came out and said that. I'm like, that's not your identity. That's not the identity of the football team. I think that's that's you're trying to garner and tighten up that message with your team is always so important. I think that's the stuff they got to look at is what do they really want to be? You have Jair Alexander that comes out in 1 week I mean he puts that out there on Jefferson and then Gritty's on him and you're like, okay, like this is some swag and this is some okay, I'm down with this, but then to play soft and off in coverage all the time the next week, it's tough to reconcile, what do you really want to be within that? So I think that's really what they got to look at is just the total alignment. I think the special teams thing is something that is not always fixed by a coordinator or what they're doing there. It's a lot of times personnel. What are they good special teams players? Are they bought into doing that thing? Are they the right fit for what you're trying to do special teams? And I thought you saw it with Keyshawn Nixon bringing in and Goody making that call. That's a great personnel decision right there. And I think they need some more great personnel decisions there, not just coaching and scheme on special teams.
Yeah, they're going to have a lot of work to do this offseason, putting this team all back together in a way that will be friendly to the cap and also give this Packers squad a real chance to compete because the NFC North is not getting any easier. Dan Campbell, by the way, #1 pick in our WWE NFL coaches draft. Robert Saleh coming up at number 2 right now. There are going to be a lot of good teams in the NFC North, and the Bears might be one of them too with all that money and the draft picks that they have at their disposal. So if I'm the Packers, listen, I'm not sleeping on this division, not even a teeny bit.
No, I think the big thing you look at is that the Lions have the number 6 pick this year with the Rams pick, that they get that pick coming out of it, plus the one that they get, in the mid-first round. So they're going to have 2 picks in that top 16 or 17 or whatever that is. But getting that top pick is really good. So I think that's how that worked out for the Lions and the picks that they got in the Jared Goff trade and in the Matthew Stafford trade, the Jared Goff trade. They call it the Jared Goff trade, not the.
It is now.
Trade. Whatever. One of them played, one of them didn't. One of them had a better team this year, but I think getting that 6th pick for the Lions makes them pretty dangerous. You've seen them hit on all this. I think the Penei Sewell thing, look at how that's working out and really one of the best offensive lines in the NFL and the guys that they've been able to pick. Jameson Williams looks like to be a superstar in making. That guy is electric and trying to figure that out. And I would say if you were to put me on a spectrum from a coaching spectrum from Matt LaFleur to Dan Campbell, I'm probably closer to the Dan Campbell than I am to the threaded eyebrows and the shaved up beard. I'm more on the Dan Campbell side of things and like what they're doing. So I think that's good. But here's one thing that I heard Coach Janice yesterday talk about the edge rusher and what the Bears need and all this. Do they really have a quarterback? I mean, when you look at do they really have a quarterback?
For a couple of years, maybe.
They have a running back. They have a bunch of running backs, and they have a running back at quarterback who's playing that position. But do they have a quarterback that they can win with? I think that's the question to watch with the Bears is, are they willing to make that decision and say, we've seen this. I was with you a lot, Dave, during that draft process, said that Justin Fields is not that guy. Didn't think he was going to be that kind of player. He's proven that right now. Do they really have a quarterback? I would really question that with the Chicago Bears, and I'm interested to see what they're going to do with that pick and see how they really feel about Justin Fields, because you're probably not going to come back around and get the number 1 pick ever again here. Hopefully you structure it so that you don't, especially with the cap money that they have. This isn't like the Jags with Trevor Lawrence, who was a generational talent and a guy that you saw and loved. This isn't like the Bengals with Joe Burrow that you look and build around that with cap space and signing guys. This is a guy that hasn't proven anything and was okay in college, even left a place and bounced around in college. I don't know that the Bears are totally set at that position, but this is the Packers we're talking about. They need to stick to what their formula is. Add some pieces, but when you feel like you have Rodgers, you have a chance to at least get to a playoff round and really drop the ball and lose at home. So at least we can look forward to them getting to that point.
Yeah, that'll be something we'll all be waiting for with bated breath. Mike, I am so excited to have you on the program today. I cannot tell you how much I've been looking forward to this. I would love to be able to have you back on the show coming up soon, so we'll be in touch off air. Northern State Wolves head coach Mike Schmidt. Follow on Twitter at NSU Coach Schmidt. Thank you so much. Great to see a good-looking stadium out there, big guy.
I got my good digs here, man. I'm doing good, but I love you, Dave. I appreciate y'all. We'll talk soon.
Love you too, buddy. Talk to you soon.
Now more than ever, if you're looking to buy or sell your first home or perhaps an investment property, you need a full-time dedicated real estate agent who is up to date on all the latest trends and analysis and is ready to give you the kind of service that you deserve. That's why the official real estate agent and the official real estate partner of the Sports Carnival is Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate. Whether you're looking to buy or sell your first home, or perhaps you are a seasoned investor, call the official real estate agent partner of the Sports Carnival, Kyle Cable of One Trust Real Estate.
Hey, it's time for koozies, hot tubs, and jacuzzis with a big announcement for the next 2 months. When you buy a hot tub or jacuzzi, you get a pair of tickets for the Big Coozes Booze Cruise. Headed to Cabo, so sop that mop and then come pop a top with me, the Coos.
Sop that mop is a slang term for wet bush.
Back to the action live from the Trauma Center Studios. This is the Sports Carnival. Albert Einstein once said, education is what remains after one has forgotten everything they learned in school. How true is that? Here's your host, Dave Kearney.
I love that. Einstein, he was no dummy, wasn't he? He was a pretty smart guy overall.
Yeah.
He had a couple of years. Welcome back to the show. Broadcasting live from the Trauma Center Studios, powered by the Recovery Room. Want to send a special shout out this morning to BetUS. Go to betus.com, sign up, use the promo code Carnival, and get yourself 125% free play money in your sportsbook wallet. Chad, we're starting to see more and more audience members jump aboard BetUS and make their wagers. Again, this is 100% legal, live in-game betting, all of your favorite sports, college, professional, even things offshore. If you like Chinese basketball, Azerbaijan table tennis, they've got you covered. Also, Czechoslovakian curling is something I think you can find at BetUS. Again, use the promo code Carnival. Also like to say a special shout out or a special hello to our friends Kyle Cable, One Trust Real Estate, the official real estate partner of the program. Sold my house in Stoddard in 2 days. 2 days on the market, middle of winter, gone. When I buy a new house, Chad, which will probably be in another year or so, right? I'm going to wait another year, let this market sort of figure itself out and get settled down. I'm going to get my mortgage through the official mortgage provider of the show. That, of course, is the Midwest Mortgage Team. Mike Garcia, Todd Vercruzzi, the Coos. And for your insurance needs, it's none other than Preferred Insurance, downtown La Crosse on 4th Street. Auto, business, flood, home insurance, Preferred Insurance. Tony Rousa and Brian Sandmeyer are your guys. When you're getting your house all ready to go, Joe's Helping Hands Landscaping is who you call for your lawn care, your snow removal, and in case you ever get in trouble or you need the services of a really awesome attorney, and I can speak to this with a surety. The guys helped me out on a number of different situations. It's Sean O'Neill and the O'Neill Law Firm, again, downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin. We are centered in downtown La Crosse, Wisconsin. That is where the Trauma Center studio will be in about 10 days. 10 days from now or so, we'll be in downtown La Crosse at the all-new Trauma Center studio. And just looking ahead to next week, Chad, I think we're going to have to take Friday off because I've got movers coming on Friday. So I think we're going to have to take next Friday off. You okay with that one?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
I'm down with the sickness. Isn't that a song?
Yes, it is. Yes.
I want you to go back and make your Albert Einstein comment again. What'd you say?
I said, I think he was a pretty smart guy.
Relatively speaking.
Oh, boosh.
Serious,
Wait, hold on a second. I think I've got.
I thought of it too late. There we go. Yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, just
What was
wanted to let
that?
you know. That was my little. That was my little.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Just wanted to show you a little cheer. I mean, come on. It was for your great joke.
That's yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's old timey radio stuff. We're gonna break out the cowbell pretty soon.
Morning Wood wants to know if pork chops involved in helping you move.
No, and I don't know.
You can't throw pork chop a bone, if you will.
Pork chop used to stalk me at my house. And when I say this, I mean this literally. He stalked me at my home and would threaten to come over and try to watch games with me. I had to let Pork Chop know one time I was fucking strapped to the teeth. And I was like, dude, you come over here and you cross that line. That's the Rubicon. And all of a sudden, we're eating pork chops. That's all I could say. Do not come to my home ever. No, I think Morning Wood, the biggest help that Pork Chop could ever give us would be to relinquish his driver's license. Like, the entire community is at grave peril. Also, this man, and I blame city fathers for this, was a crossing guard at a busy street and would be texting me during his crossing guard duties. And I'm like, Chop, you're going to get fucking 8-year-olds killed, okay? Please put down the phone, stop texting, go back to work. You know, they say it's the blind leading the blind. In this case, it's the Chop leading the pigtail. And I couldn't figure out what the fuck this guy was about. So, no, he's not going to help me. But thank you for asking, Wood. I appreciate you, by the way.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's just looking out for the Chop.
Yeah, he's looking out for the Chop, sure.
Yeah, plus he wants to make a good joke because if ever the show is flagging, if it's ever going down, all we have to mention is Pork Chop, and it gets boosted right back up. So
that's a thing.
From that point of view, Pork Chop is quite nice to have in the cupboard, if you will.
Yeah, I agree. He doesn't smell well in the cupboard. Should have been put in the freezer, but you're right. Pork Chop is nice to have in the cupboard. P1.
See, look, he's just rolling in here. It's rolling in. And then look at this one. How does he drive when he can't get the steering wheel off of his gut?
Good call. I mean, good call. And listen, I would say, because you asked me once, you're like, are you sure we should be doing this? But I feel bad for Pork Chop. Dude, his brother-in-law works at a restaurant here in Stoddard, does not like this man. Actually does not like this man. And told me once, I saw him out, never let up on him. He's a real asshole, he told me. His sister, just treats him badly. So I'm like, oh, all for it. Just give it to him.
Okay, so no mercy on Pork Chop.
No mercy on Pork Chop. And besides,
does he know his name is Pork Chop, or is that like one of those nicknames that people give but the person doesn't really know they have that nickname?
He owns it like Vince McMahon owns the WWE.
Okay.
He loves it, and he relishes hearing his name. He used to, because he can't spell well and he can't speak well. So he would send me things like, Dave, I be on radio. Now you bring Dave Pork Chop on. Let me on radio. By the way, biggest Detroit Lions fan ever. Mm-hmm. Thank you for it.
This is Foreman. He says, I remember driving by Chop doing crossing guard duties, and 1 out of 3 times his gut was hanging out. 4XL shirt. And this isn't the guy that you worked with. That's a different guy.
This is a different guy. No, that's a different guy. I mean, that man looks like fucking Leonardo DiCaprio next to him. Okay. It's like completely just bad. And listen, that's the one thing. Pork Chop almost reminded me of Stan Van Gundy plus 400. Like, you remember how Stan Van Gundy couldn't fit into his suits and they were always like really short on his arms? One of those.
I'm glad you brought up Stan Van Gundy, because I like both Stan and Jeff. That's a good poll question. Who's your favorite, Stan or Jeff?
Ooh, I kind
of leaning towards Jeff. But the other day though, I was watching Stan and they were talking about I can't remember who does it where you get the free chicken if somebody misses a free throw. I don't remember where that is.
Is that it's not in Detroit. I know what you're talking about.
Philadelphia.
I want to Philadelphia. Yes.
And Stan Van Gundy was just making this big. He's like, how do I get some of this chicken? I don't get any free chicken.
And they're like, you can't win. You're working here. And he's like, oh, that's right. I didn't, because he was asking about the tickets. It's like, you have to go get the ticket.
That's right.
And he didn't remember that they have electronic tickets. And he's like, wait, I can't get any tickets.
I think they both do a good job. And I think maybe Jeff's
better.
A better analyst, but Stan's funny.
He is. And
He's
I thought
funny guy.
For what it was worth, they were both pretty good coaches. Jeff Van Gundy taking over for Pat Riley in New York wasn't bad. And he had a decent run in Houston as well, did Jeff Van Gundy.
Yeah.
I want to say that James Harden and Magic City were one of the reasons that Jeff Van Gundy stopped coaching there. Stan Van Gundy had a decent run with the Orlando Magic and Miami Heat. He took both of those teams to NBA Finals. He just got fired from both of those jobs. One in Miami because Pat Riley's like, oh, wait, you're close? Okay, I got to get my next ring. And he did.
Right.
But, Jeff Van Gundy was, good. Stan Van Gundy was good. I think that Jeff's the better analyst, though, too. I agree. And he and Mark Jackson with Mike Breen, that's a really good combination.
I agree with that. Yeah, to me, that's like when those guys are calling a game, it's a lot more pleasurable to watch.
And I wonder if they'll be on the call tonight. I haven't seen this because ESPN's got a big doubleheader tonight. So we've got the Bucks and we've got the Hawks, and that game is going to tip off at 6:30. The Bucks, by the way, are 2.5-point favorites. Actually 2-point favorites. It's jumped back down to now. The total on this game is hedging around 235, but we've also got another game on ESPN tonight, Phoenix at Denver. So by the way, Phoenix beating the Warriors last night stopped their 6-game losing streak. I wonder if that group is going to be on the Bucks game in Atlanta or if they'll be out there on the West Coast. A lot of times those guys do East Coast calls, though.
Yeah,
So
I would
we'll
say
see.
they'd be on the East Coast. We'll see, though. Yeah, which I think is probably a bigger game, don't you think?
Yeah, I do. I like the Bucks and the Hawks a lot. The Nuggets and the Suns, that's going to be an
That's a
interesting
good
one.
game. Yeah.
Dude, Nikola Jokic, as much as I was against this guy being a 3-time MVP in a row, man, he's averaging nearly a triple-double right now. And
I
for
know.
the Denver Nuggets, they are one of the most dangerous teams. Jamal Murray being back and, Aaron Gordon playing good. I mean, Michael Porter Jr., when his back isn't hurting him, is doing really good. It's going to be an interesting game, but I've got the Bucks tonight. Like I said, 2-point favorites. I'll just leave you guys with this really quick. Again, go to BetUS. The Bucks are 8-3-1 against the spread their last 12 Wednesday games. The Atlanta Hawks are 8-2 against the spread in their last 10 home games following a road trip of more than 7 days. This is where 26.1% of statistics get made up on the spot. But to say, BetUS.com, enter promo code Carnival, 125% free play deposit match on your initial deposit. Enjoy the game. Tomorrow on the show, Chad, we will be joined by Brad Reinhardt, the head coach of the Aquinas boys basketball team. And we're going to give away some tickets to the Midwest Players Classic, which is coming up this weekend over at the Lacrosse Center. Have a great day, Chad. Awesome as always. And thanks to Mike Schmidt. We'll talk to you guys and gals in the morning.